Okay, we're going to make a flange for this bearing. All we have is the bearing. We're going to take a piece of plywood, a little bigger than the bearing. We're going to cut a hole in that piece of plywood. It's 1 7/8, an 1 7/8 hole saw. We're going to take that, we're going to drill it, pop that out, throw that away. Then we're going to take a piece of schedule, I think it's schedule 40. It's 1 7/8 OD. So all we're going to do is cut a section, cut it off square, sand it. That 1 7/8 fits right in there real nice and snug. See? There you go. Now you got the bottom part. It'll go right over the top of that with some space. See how much space we have in here? That determines how many, I figure probably an 1/8 inch thickness wall of glass, how we're going to make this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a stopper. I took a 1 3/4 OD hole saw, little piece of plywood, cut it out, put a handle on here, so the head goes right through there like that. So now what I have is I've got a little plunger. A little plunger pushes that down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magical pallet wrap or cling wrap, just right on the table. Right on the table, put my bearing there, put my saran wrap over the top, put my wet glass right over the top of that. Now that I have my wet glass right over the top, then I take another piece of saran wrap and put it on top of the wet glass. And now I just take this, push it down there really hard, push it down there and squish it. Try and get it in the center of where the bearing is so it's not on one side or another. For the most part, it'll kind of center. Then I take my little stopper and I push it down in here, and I could put a weight or something on top of here and just let it go off. When it all goes off, when it's all done, I'll just pull my stopper out. This here will just fall right off, and then I'll have my form right on there, and my bearing, good bearing, is right here. So in a little bit I'll make one and I'll show you the end result. Keep an eye on. Okay, we're going to mix up some fast. Ready? Okay, we're going to mix up some fast. So put the thing on there, push my button, get it started. It zeroes out. I've got my hardener done. A little pouring thing. Put my glass, my thing here. I'm going to pour, let's see, I'm going to make it just for fun. I'm going to make it 13, 14. It's 14 and a half. I'll look over on my scale. 14 and a half comes out to 20. Get out of my way. Comes out to 20. Pour this till it gets to 20. Okay, so it's at 20. Pour my excess in here. Oh crap. I start mixing. It's kind of a big mess here. I start mixing. And the moment I stop mixing is generally when I start pouring it out. Don't ever let it sit in the cup, as the mass will make it all go off real quick. So generally I would pour quite a bit, but on this particular I'm going to do 8 layers of glass at one time. And you can see, get all over. It's flat on the end. And mix this fast up. Let's see how far this here goes. That way I'll try to use up every single bit of what I've got. Turn that off. Okay, still mixing. Okay, I've got 2 layers of glass right down there on the, I start out with 2 layers. Pour a little bit here. Take my squeegee. Just lightly get it all covered. Don't worry about it too awful much. So it's like an 1/8 inch on top of it. And for the most part, I would let that sit. I don't work it in. It's not going to absorb any faster. It's not going to do anything. Normally I would, but you see how see how it's starting to clear out. It's absorbing all the way through. Yeah, it's starting to get, here's a clear spot. Starting to get all the way through. 2 layers. I don't have to do anything. Now that it's stuck to the bottom there. See, it's all kind of gone through. Take my excess, bad, get my excess off like that. If there's any air bubbles, you can kind of work it out a little bit. Just a little bit, but I don't worry about it too awful doggone much. Time is money. I'll put my next layer on here. Just give it time. It'll all absorb all that excess underneath there. Once it starts, I don't have to keep adding. See how hard I'm actually pressing on here? Go with the direction of the cloth. Now what I could do is I could pour just a tad. Next layer. We're going to put a total of 8 layers on this. See how it's already absorbing. Normally I would never have epoxy sitting in this pot. How dry it all is. Put another layer on there. It's going to absorb more. We're not working it in, we're just flattening it out. Or if there's this way, this just gets all the air bubbles all out. Normally I would make this glass perfectly straight because where all the strength is in the direction of the fibers. This, we're just making a bearing holder, and it's just we need the thickness on here. A bit more. Pretty dry. Put another one. Yeah, it's absorbing everything. If this was slow, you could just take all day and see, there's no air bubbles, no nothing. You don't need to stipple. There's no reason to really stipple ever anything. Gotta get a little bit around this side. Next layer. Another layer. Cup getting hot yet? Yeah, that's probably fine. We're going to use some of this glass for some other stuff here. Last layer of glass. And generally speaking, the last layer, we don't put any more on it. Usually it would just absorb all through here. Get this pretty dry. Not going to take much. That's 8 layers of glass. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to set this down over here. I'm going to take this off. Actually, and here my foil. This is a cheap way of doing this without vacuum bagging. For people who don't have, and I can actually kind of do this particular job without vacuum bagging, and it's just quick and easy, and just because I have something I can press this thing here in here with. There in between 2 layers of saran wrap. Yeah, right, like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my saran wrap, put it on there. Let me get a paper towel and wipe my gloves off here. I just don't like it. Take a little holder, put it right over the top, smash it down. I'm going to take my plunger, put it on top, smash it down, both of these. And all I gotta do is put a lead weights on them. I forget which one goes through this easier than the other. Oh, that one's pretty good. How high is that one? Yeah. Put one there in the center there. I'm gonna have another one here. I'm gonna have another one on the edge. And my little screw is here because I've got that. I want to put pressure on my little plunger. So it's gonna go right like that. Done. Okay, well, we're back. I put 6 layers of, I use MGS. It's real simple. 6 layers, wet it all out, put it on foil. It's easy to transfer. Actually, what I could do is, normally I take a pair of scissors. I love using tin foil as a way of transferring because it won't allow it to move around. Just pick it right up, put it right down there. I can mold it, put it right where I want it. Take my tin foil, cost about the same as plastic. I've got this, got it all down like this. I'm going to knead it down. I need to put my piece of saran wrap, pallet wrap, over the top of that. Put this right over the top of the bearing. Smash it down. You can see up here at the top, in the hole, I've smashed this down. You see how that is down in there? It's plucked up a little bit. So then I'll take my little plunger and I'll put that right in there and I'll smash that down. If you look, it's smashed around the bearing. And what I can do is, normally I use fast. This one here's a slow. And all I got to do is put a weight on it, and that's it. Start. Okay, you see I've put some lead weights on here to hold everything down. This is the first time taking this off, and I'll show you how easy it is with the saran wrap or pallet wrap. So I took this one here off. The reason why I had this one sitting on top is, see how I had a little screw sitting in that little hole? Well, when I take this lead weight off, there, up, it came right with it. See how my little plunger that I had in here? That's so that it was putting pressure on that plunger, okay? So then if I take this one off, it pushed this one here down, okay. So, take my plunger out. See, nothing stuck, nothing did anything. Look inside the hole. Okay, you see the bearing all in there, and it was all flat. Now my next thing I'm going to do is, there's no release on here. It was just the saran wrap sitting on top of there. So all I'm going to do now is take the saran wrap, peel it off. Now I've got, and then I'll take this off the bottom. And now I've got to get that bearing out of there. Let's see what it's going to take. Oh, just tapped it, popped right out. There's my brand new bearing. There's my holder. There's some steel ply, or saran wrap. Okay, and you see how all that is there. So now all I have to do is sand this all up, and I'll cut this around the bearing just inside the hole here so that my bearing goes, boom, right inside here. Snaps right inside. I'll cut my shape like my metal one that we produce, a shape like this, and I'll just screw this right on, and there's my bearing holder. Okay, like our metal one. This is our metal one that we manufacture, we produce, and this bearing pops right in there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make this fiberglass one, and I can make my own shape, cut that out, and I've got the same as this. I think we charge $50 for this bearing holder. I'd love to sell things. Right now we're out of them, but for people who want to make their own, you have to remember, in a cozy, you're making 4 of them. That's $200. You know, that's plus the bearing, and we put a couple of click bonds in there to hold this. But this is really technically, this is just as good. When I clean it all up and cut it all out, it'll look like fabulous. This here just so happened to be 6 layers of glass using MGS, and you'll see how thin it is. I could have probably, that would be probably the minimum I would use. I'll show you here in a little bit. I'll clean this up and I'll show you what it turned into. What I had said before about having a cup of epoxy, especially fast epoxy, you want to, the moment you get done mixing, you want to dump the load, and it disperses that, and it doesn't go off in the exotherm in the cup. And so you have all the time once you've dumped your load. But you notice when I was doing this little project, it's a little bitty project, and there was eight layers, but you didn't know, but out of that, what I had left out of that cup, I actually did another little project, which was mixing up some flocks and doing another little project off to the side. And I was capable of doing that only because this was kind of a small project. It just maybe started to get warm, but barely that. I had plenty of time. Normally, if I was doing fast epoxy, I might be making a part the size of this table easily, and 1 cup would do about this much area. When I dumped, and then I'd start mixing up some more, and I never have a problem. I could go all day, 110 degrees. But I'm going to show you here. This is our second time now making this part. So this time, instead of using 6 layers, I did 8 layers. So right now, for me, it's a little bit of an experiment. I want to see how much clearance. Remember, I gave you the measurements of my little part. So this will be taking this thing here apart for the first time. Let's see how it goes. That was my little screw that I had, so it would sit through that. See, it fell through again. Now take my little weights off. Took my little cap off. And now it was a little bit tighter. A little bit tighter there. So I'm actually filling up more, so that 2 extra layers actually was filling that and making it better, which I think all in all, I think it should either probably be the 6 layers would be fine. I could use that part just as easily, and I probably will for my own my airplane here. But I would say 8 to 10 layers. So I'll pop that out. And there's the, and then all I should have to do is just go. Okay, little bearing. There's my bearing. And I pop that out. So you can see how that came all out. Oh, hang on for a second. Hang on. It's recording. Okay, here's the first one that we did. And I've just sanded just a little bit, get things flat, and I haven't cut the inside of around the bearing. Okay, and you saw how well that fit. Of course, this is going to fit exactly the same as the other one. But you see how thin how thick it is, which I would say that's what, Chrissy?
075, 080.
Probably. So I added 2 more layers onto this. So when I get done, I'll clean this thing here up. And matter of fact, this one I had used slow on, and that had to go overnight and everything else. I did this with fast, MGS fast, and that was 3 hours ago when I poured this. So 3 hours ago. So I can go make, my cozy. I got to make 4 of them. no big deal. I could pop these out every 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So there you go. We'll keep you updated a little bit more. Okay, we're back. I said I'd show you what we came up with after we did our little mold. We cut it all out. You saw the piece, the rough piece before. Here's what it looks like. That's 8 layers. 8 is plenty. The bearing snaps right in. Here it snaps right in. We got a bearing. Basically doing the same job as this thing here, and just took me a little bit to make that. There you go. Simple. Pushes out. There you are. You can make as many of those things as you want. You know, they work in a lot of different applications. So there you go.